Hello everyone, and welcome to RadioCSIRT English Edition, your daily appointment with cybersecurity news. I am Marc Frederic Gomez, your French cybersecurity voice, for today's threat landscape. I hope you are doing well. We are Sunday, January 18, 2026, episode 68, the week of January 10 to January 16, 2026, was rich in cybersecurity news, marked by complex supply chain attacks, massive data breaches, the discovery of actively exploited critical vulnerabilities, as well as strategic and regulatory advances from the financial sector to social networks through critical infrastructures. Professionals had to face a wide range of sophisticated threats. This weekly summary, with a journalistic and rigorous tone, reviews the main incidents, flaws, reports, and initiatives that drove cybersecurity news. All sources used for this episode are available in its description and on the website, RadioCSIRT.com. The financial sector under pressure. The Kaspersky Security Bulletin 2025 confirms constant pressure on the financial sector. Over the past year, 1.33 million banking Trojan attacks were blocked. 12.8% of business-to-business financial companies suffered a ransomware attack. The World Economic Forum now ranks cyber attacks among the major risks to global financial stability. Security Scorecard reveals alarming figures. 97% of major United States banks and 100% of major European financial groups experienced at least one breach involving a third-party supplier in 2024. Only 6% of evaluated providers were directly compromised, but almost all surveyed banks suffered indirect incidents via lower-tier subcontractors. The November 2025 CITUS AMC incident illustrates this risk. This real estate services provider for banks suffered an intrusion with exfiltration of confidential data belonging to several banking institution clients. No operational disruption was observed. However, the attack resulted in massive theft of sensitive data without the use of ransomware. Insurers report in 2025 an increase in ransomware cases where victims were compromised via a trusted partner. This indirect ransomware technique exploits legitimate provider connections to bypass perimeter defenses of financial institutions. On the geopolitical front, the European Union Agency for Cybersecurity, ENISA, reports an intensification of attacks against European finance. In 2025, 69% of operations claimed by pro-Russian hacktivist groups targeted the European Union banking sector, with a particular focus on Italy, Spain, and France. The North Korean group Lazarus remains the primary advanced persistent threat facing European financial institutions. Major data breaches. Endesa, Spain's largest electricity provider, disclosed this week a data breach potentially affecting 22 million customers. Unauthorized access to its commercial platform, compromised customer identities, contact information, national identity card numbers, contract details, and IBAN numbers. Passwords were not exposed. A malicious actor using the alias Spain is offering for sale a database containing more than 20 million records, with a total volume of 1.05 terabytes. Instagram also suffered a massive data leak, exposing information belonging to 17.5 million users. On January 9th, the cybercriminal known as Solonik published a dataset on a hacking forum collected in late 2024 through an Instagram API vulnerability. The exposed records include full names, usernames, verified email addresses, phone numbers, and partial location data. The leak results from automated scraping, circumventing Meta's security measures. As of January 10, 2026, Meta had not issued an official statement. BreachForums, the well-known hacking forum, also became a victim of a data leak. On January 9th, an archive named BreachForums7z was released publicly. It contained the forum's user SQL table, comprising 323,988 accounts, 70,296 records, include public IP addresses. The forum's current administrator, known by the alias N/A, acknowledged that a backup had been temporarily stored in an unsecured folder. Pax8, a cloud marketplace for managed service providers, exposed data belonging to 1,800 MSP partners. On January 13th, a manager inadvertently sent a CSV file to approximately 40 recipients. The file contained more than 56,000 lines detailing Microsoft internal pricing, customer portfolios, and license information, according to Blipping Computer. Malicious actors have already offered to purchase copies of the file. Finally, the Anchorage Police Department in Alaska was forced to take its servers offline as a precaution. This followed a cyber attack targeting one of its service providers. On January 7th, Whitebox Technologies, responsible for a data migration project, reported an intrusion. At this stage, no evidence indicates a direct compromise to police information systems. Threats and attack campaigns. Sicarii, a new ransomware group that emerged in late 2025, has drawn attention for its unusual visual identity, centered on Israeli and Jewish symbols. According to Checkpoint, several indicators suggest a false flag operation. The group operates on Russian-speaking underground forums. The Hebrew texts it distributes contain errors. Typical of automatic translation, the malware also implements active geofencing, avoiding execution on any system located in Israel. Sicarii notably exploits a Fortinet vulnerability, referenced as CVE 2025-64446, and encrypts files using the extension .Sicarii. Cisco Talos has published a report on an advanced persistent threat actor identified as UAT-8837. This group is linked to China and has been active since 2025 against critical infrastructures in North America. According to Talos, UAT-8837 exploits zero-day vulnerabilities, including CVE 2025-53690, affecting the Sitecore content management system. During the post-compromise phase, the group relies on numerous open-source tools, including DWAgent, SharpHound, Earthworm, and Certify. Talos assesses that UAT-8837 likely acts as an initial access broker, reselling compromised access to other threat groups. Two original phishing campaigns also made headlines. In France, a scam known as Quishing combines phishing techniques with physical postal mail. Victims receive fake letters using bank visual branding and containing a counterfeit bank card equipped with a QR code. Recipients are instructed to activate the card by scanning the QR code. On LinkedIn, cybercriminals have created fake profiles impersonating official support accounts. They post comments claiming that a user's account is restricted due to alleged non-compliance. Critical vulnerabilities and patches. Microsoft opened the year with a massive patch Tuesday, fixing 114 vulnerabilities, including 3 zero-day flaws already exploited in the wild. CVE 2026-20805 is actively used by attackers and was added to the CISA Known Exploited Vulnerabilities catalog, with a remediation deadline set for February 3rd. 8 flaws are classified as critical, including several remote code execution vulnerabilities affecting Microsoft Office via malicious documents, a privilege escalation flaw affecting the WSUS service, referenced as CVE 2026-20856. Microsoft also removed vulnerable drivers shipped with Windows, including legacy Agere modem drivers. The company further warned of the upcoming expiration of secure boot certificates, dating back to 2011, outside of Microsoft's monthly update cycle. Several serious vulnerabilities were disclosed. Microsoft published an advisory for the CVE 2026068 affecting the Chromium Web View component in Edge. The CISA added CVE 202581110 with a CVSS score of 8.7, affecting the self-hosted Git service GOGS. An authenticated user can exploit a path traversal flaw to write files outside the intended directory tree. CERT Santé issued an alert regarding CVE 202602227 targeting Palo Alto Global Protect portals. This denial of service vulnerability is exploitable without authentication and affects multiple product versions. Cisco published an emergency fix for CVE 202520393 a critical zero-day vulnerability in AsyncOS, active since November the 2025. This flaw was exploited by the Chinese APT group, UAT-9686. Attackers were able to install backdoors and tunneling tools on compromised systems. AsyncOS issued several notable advisories. On January 13th, an XSS vulnerability affecting the MISP platform, fixed in version 2.5.32, for remote code execution flaws in VMware Tanzu Gemfire, with patches available, multiple vulnerabilities impacting MariaDB databases, and a security policy bypass in NetApp ONTIP systems referenced as CVE 2026222050. Google also deployed a fix for CVE 2025486447, affecting all Pixel smartphones. Researchers finally disclosed CodeBreach, a critical vulnerability in the AWS supply chain. Just 2 missing characters in a regular expression filter were sufficient to bypass GitHub authentication. This allowed an attacker to obtain administrator access to the AWS SDK.js version 3 repository and credentials for the associated automation account. Amazon fixed the issue and introduced a manual approval portal for builds submitted by untrusted contributors. Government and regulatory initiatives. The British government launched on January 6th an ambitious government cyber action plan with a budget of £210 million aimed at transforming public sector cybersecurity. The plan includes the creation of a government cyber unit within the Ministry of Science, Innovation and Technology. The British National Cybersecurity Centre reports a 50% increase in very serious cyber incidents during 2025. Germany and Israel also concluded a cooperation agreement aimed at creating a German cyber dome. Inspired by the Israeli real-time active defense system, the agreement was signed in Jerusalem by German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The pact provides for expertise sharing and joint development of cyber defense tools. In France, the National Commission on Informatics and Liberty, CNIL, imposed total fines amounting to $48 million against operator Free and its subsidiary Free Mobile. The sanctions follow a serious security breach that occurred in October 2024. An attacker compromised internal systems via a poorly secured virtual private network and accessed personal data belonging to 24 million subscribers in the United States. The California Privacy Protection Agency imposed a $45,000 fine on Data Masters, a Texas-based data broker. The company unlawfully marketed sensitive personal data, including information on 435,245 Alzheimer's patients, as well as millions of profiles of vulnerable individuals. Data Masters was not registered as a data broker, as required by the Delete Act, which entered into force in California in January 2025. The Principality of Monaco celebrated the 10th anniversary of the Monaco Agency for Digital Security, AMSN. The agency was created on December 23, 2015. Over the past decade, AMSN has established itself as the national authority responsible for information system security. It also operates its own incident response team. The CERT-MC this week illustrated the diversity of threats weighing on cyberspace: indirect attacks via suppliers, innovative phishing campaigns, massive personal data leaks, and exploitation of zero-day vulnerabilities. In response to these challenges, defensive actors are mobilizing, vendors deploying emergency patches, authorities strengthening regulations and sanctions, and governments investing in action plans and international partnerships. Oh, and that's it. This episode comes to an end. I hope it provided you with clear and useful information. Until then, we don't think, we patch. If you are a new listener, feel free to subscribe to the RadioCSIRT podcast. The podcast is available in English, French, Italian, and Spanish on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, Deezer, and Spotify. All open source intelligence links used in this episode Yart available on the website RadioC-SIRT.com. See you next week for a new episode. Take care. Goodbye.